There is a strong masculine epidemic in our modern society, where the calling to be a virtuous man has all been forgotten. Those that remain virtuous are only a handful and truly a dying breed. Everything revolves around feelings now, about how you feel. People only choose to engage in activities if they feel like it. This phrase has become so common that it's in fact the biggest reason that could hinder your growth. For example, if you told someone overweight to go hit the gym, what would they say? I don't feel like it. A feeling-oriented life is the biggest killer of living a virtuous life. Listen to that again. Living a life controlled by your feelings is the biggest killer of living a virtuous life. Why? Because living a life based on feelings puts you in a state where you are always chasing happiness. This is dark void, where you would only choose to do something if it makes you happy. By happy, I mean if you find it stimulating enough. I want you to get this concept in your mind. Listen to this. That the goal of life is not to be happy, but to do what's right. And only when you do what's right will you be truly happy. This is the simplest definition of living a virtuous life. Let's go back to that simple example of you being overweight. If you have never hit the gym or worked out in your life, and if you are still driven by your feelings, you wouldn't do what's right, which in this case is to lose weight. You feel dead inside because you know you should be exercising, but you think that by chasing your feelings, you might fix that void. So you decide to sit on the couch, binge watch a lot of Netflix movies to stimulate yourself. The movie finishes and you are still not satisfied. So you go to McDonald's to buy more food. But that still didn't satisfy you. And so, that cycle continues. Now, think what would happen if you chose to live a virtuous life. If you weren't driven by your feelings, but rather by your virtues. You would go to the gym. After days and months of doing what's right, you have now found true happiness. Every time you look in the mirror, every time you walk past girls, every time you walk into a room, you feel good about yourself. Unlike the temporary stimulation from McDonald's or Netflix TV shows that lasts for few seconds or hours, you now feel it every time you walk and look around. So going back to the quote you just heard, that the goal of life is not to be happy, but to do what's right. And only when you do what's right will you be truly happy. But how do you start? Where does this all begin? What's the best way to become more masculine and virtuous? The answer is simple. Start by keeping your word. Whatever you say, follow through with that. In today's society, it's very easy to fall into the trap of trying to please people. Because of this, you might tell someone, "Okay, I will see you tomorrow," but you never do. You just said that to keep them happy in that moment. And just like that, your brain has taken note that you don't keep your word. As you continue this pattern, you will find your self-esteem gets so low to the point that you start hating yourself. In fact, most people go into depression for this very reason. So if you want to be masculine, it all begins with building up more self-respect. Think about it. Why would others respect you if you don't even respect yourself? Why should they treat you any different from a homeless drug addict who says he needs money for clothes but spends it on drugs instead? So start by keeping your word to yourself. But remember, keeping your word is a habit just like seed retention that you must practice, harness, and build over time. Don't go too extreme right away. Let's say that you have a habit of waking up at 11 a.m. every day, and you know you should be waking up earlier. To fix this, don't tell yourself to wake up at 6 a.m. because it's a big jump, and most likely you won't be able to wake up at that time. If you told yourself that you will wake up at 6 a.m. and did not, your brain will take note of that. Next morning, or for the next few weeks if you continue doing this, where you tell yourself to wake up 6 a.m. and do not, what happens? Your self-esteem and self-respect is once again on a downward spiral. So, start slow. Give yourself a time you know you will wake up at. For the first few weeks, this might be 9 a.m. Say out loudly before going to bed that I will wake up at 9 a.m. Continue waking up at this time for at least 1 month, so you don't even need an alarm clock from that point onwards. Once you tell yourself and go and do it, your subconscious has taken notes. Over the course of this 1 month, you will instantly feel better and more satisfied. Why? Because you are on the road of virtue. Once waking up at 9 a.m. becomes like second nature, then tell yourself that I will wake up at 7 a.m. and repeat this cycle with all other activities. Master the art of keeping your word, not only to yourself, but to others. If you know you won't do something, don't be afraid of people's feelings, and say exactly what you intend to do. And if you know you must do something, then do exactly that. Planning your day in the morning is one of the best ways to build up this habit. By writing down everything you plan on doing, you have given your word to doing those activities. It's crucial that by the end of the day all those things have been ticked. If you know you won't be able to achieve something, then don't write it down. You could always do it tomorrow. So start small, but keep moving forward on this virtuous path. Because your words hold power. Your reality catches up to what you think and what you say. Think about this for a second. Who is the grand master of our universe? God. The Bible says in Joshua chapter 21, verse 4-5, not one word of all the good promises that the Lord had made to the house of Israel had failed. All came to pass. Remember, living a virtuous life simply means to do what God does and to live a life in a way that He has told us to. If God never compromises on His word and always does what He says, then it's right for us to do the same. By the way, brothers, don't forget to subscribe and hit like for the algorithm. To see the next best way to level up as a man, watch these videos here.